All right.
That works.
Yep, we are. All right. You got a drink, and I got a drink, and boy, he's over there trying to get that chair just like he likes it
I'm good.
because we're live.
Audio. Does that sound okay? Am I loud?
Welcome, lunatics. You are.
Am
You
I
are.
loud? I'm always loud.
You're just a little bit loud. Good evening, lunatics. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. We are coming at you live from the Wingate by Wyndham in Hurricane. We've done an orientation today. We're getting ready to start another one tomorrow. We have our drinks.
I mean, what else couldn't you want, right?
Y'all buckle up.
We're in the metropolis of Hurricane, West Virginia. We have alcohol. We have audience. We have a great hotel here that treats us like royalty. And we've got a great audience out there.
I've got
We were live last night. Impromptu live, right? It was a warm
yeah,
up.
we went live on TikTok, which I'm trying to do again. I'm going to see if this will work. Let's see. Friday.
Sometimes
I might need Devery to.
sometimes
Come on,
our we what's the word I want to use? We are in violation of community standards sometimes. on
Well,
TikTok.
last night it wasn't us, it was the commenters. Okay,
Yeah.
Devery, here's your mission. Take that over there and kind of get it to where it kind of aims at the both of us. And hopefully it will pick up. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. We'll find out. Somebody will have to monitor TikTok and see if they can even hear us. I was going to use our fancy little microphone, but the battery's almost dead on it from last night. So,
You didn't recharge them last night?
well, they were in the case, and I thought they were recharging, but apparently not. So anyway,
We are desperate for a quality professional producer. Okay, as obvious as you can tell with the quality of our broadcast here. So
yeah.
we get my producer we have now doesn't even charge the batteries up overnight. So I don't know what to do. I'm
gonna blame that on Larry Cawthorn because I bought what Larry told me to buy.
Yeah.
And what Larry told me to buy is a case that automatically recharges them, and they were in that case all night long. Wait a minute. Okay. All right, never mind. Please tell me that we're not talking to ourselves. Okay.
We have
No, we're good. We're good. I thought maybe I had started with the audio turned off again, but I did not. I actually did have audio. So
now back to my comments about my producer.
yeah. Anyway, well, we didn't have much of a plan for not. You don't have to stand over and babysit that thing. It'll be all right. What you might have to do though is plug this up and into that phone and charge it so that it won't go dead. All right. So,
all right.
Mark Ely, I got coffee and 2,500 from Kentucky to Winchester, Virginia. What's that mean?
I guess he got $2,500. I don't know. What's coffee and 2,500 from Kentucky to? Yeah, I guess he got $2,500.
Okay.
For the load. So, well, good for you, Mark Ely.
John says, "Man, I need to get a hold of you guys." Well, John, that's easy to do.
We're very easy to get a hold of. Yeah.
If you go to either our YouTube or our TikTok, there's a link in bio. It has links to our website and to our emails. And
it's very easy. It's Larry.
There's over behind that thing. There's a power strip there in that windowsill. There you go.
It's easy. It's Larry at BlueRibbonLogistics.com. or Chris at BlueRibbonLogistics.com. And if you want to get us both at the same time, just use loads at BlueRibbonLogistics.com. And we will both see them simultaneously. So that's easy to do.
Well, somebody go check, because I can't, my phone's over on this table over here. Somebody go look at the TikTok and see if it makes any sense, if they can actually hear us.
My phone's being used as a camera. So
yeah, we're pretty much maximize the use of all the equipment here.
Somebody speak to us and it's on TikTok and tell us that we're live, okay? So,
well, let me try. Try this if it's logged out, if it will. What in the world is that? Oh, sorry. That's my stupid computer. Anyway,
back to my producer comment, okay?
Oh gosh. Well, so we did. What did we do? 2.5 hours last night on TikTok
We
Live,
did. We did do 2.5 hours.
and
last
you know, it was interesting that we get so many questions there because nobody knows who we are, and it's an interesting discussion to have, especially in the light of one of the U.S. states being the first to ban TikTok. You know, because security. Um, it's almost like being on YouTube and Facebook now is just shouting in an empty room. You know, where everybody's at TikTok. I mean, when you look at the views that one of these 2.5 hour podcasts does on YouTube, and you look at the number of the amount of engagement that we get on TikTok in 2.5 hours, it's 10, 15, 20 times the amount of people that actually see it, and it's crazy. You know, we've been live on YouTube now for, gosh, 2 years, at least 2 years,
At least.
and I mean, we love y'all, and we're glad that you're here every week, but it's always the same ones. You know, it's always the same people. But man, I can go live on TikTok and instantly have 1,000, 1,500 people connected. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're not always as friendly as you guys on here. Okay,
that's 100%.
We tend to stir it up a little bit, and then we also, because we don't necessarily have the same viewpoints about things that a lot of truck drivers do. We get accused of being brokers or a fleet. I was accused of being a fleet executive, like that's something that's detached from. They don't believe that we actually drive trucks, you know, because you can't drive a truck and think the way you two do. So anyway, it's fun. Somebody asked last night, why are we always defending ourselves? Because you make us defend ourselves, okay? Y'all require it. You require a daily dose of defense. But anyway, we enjoy doing it.
I got a new plan.
You have a plan?
Well, I'm going to try.
What are you struggling with over there, by the way?
Well, I was trying to. There we go. We'll try something different here.
While he's doing that, we have got we have a great weekend. We've got two of our drivers are here that are moving up from phase 2 to phase 3. So they're here for the training to start phase 3 of our program. And then we've got 2 new folks coming tomorrow. And then we've got one of our newer guys that's here for kind of a refresher. He's getting ready to go from dry van to flatbed, step deck.
Mm-hmm.
So he's here to get the trailer. And so we're going to do a little retouch with him tomorrow. But anyway, it's exciting. We got 2 new guys starting the program tomorrow. Just a flat out recruiting message. We do have 2 trucks open. We got 2 more trucks that we have not seated yet. So as you're listening tonight, if you want to know more about what we do, ask the questions, or better than that, go to blueribbonlogistics.com and look at the Masterclass Program 2023, and all the information's there. But if you like what we do, you like what we say, that sort of thing, come join us, because we do have a couple of available seats for you. So
yeah.
We're going to have some news a little bit later tonight we'll talk about. So we got some exciting things to talk about tonight. Why don't we bring the banner up? I want me to talk about our sponsor for a second.
Yeah, let's
here.
do that.
Since they pay us to do this, we probably ought to, give them what they asked for. You guys know I've been involved with Pittsburgh Power as a customer since 2009. One of the very first modifications I did to the truck that I bought was put the OPS oil purification system. I have to remember that. I can't say OPS because most people don't know what it is. Not most, but some don't. And they go, "What's an OPS?" So it's a bypass oil filtration system. We have an entire episode or 2 on this on the OPS system.
Yeah,
so
108 and 108 is the one that explains the system in detail,
right?
And I think 158.
But to give you a little tease, the truck that I put the system on has now 1.85 million miles on it. It's a Mercedes motor. They're known to be about a 600,000 to 800,000 mile engine before needing an end frame. Mine's not had any end frame. Okay, it had some heads replaced under a recall. but nobody's been into the motor. It's had 4 oil changes in its life. None of those oil changes were required by the lab sample. They were just experiments on my part with trying different oils and different weights and stuff like that. So, did the OPS make it last 1.85 million miles? I don't know. I can't say it didn't. I can't say positively it did, but I don't know any other Mercedes motor that's gone 1.85 million miles without
No.
having 1 or 2 end frames. So, but if you'll look into the OPS, you'll see why it really does. Because every day you start out the day with fresh oil, and so the truck never had a dirty oil in it as long as I owned it. So, anyway, I'm a big fan of that product. That product now is owned by Pittsburgh Power, which made it a natural partnership for us. And of course, now when the trucks that we have that are EGR, or even a couple of our Cascadias that we're experimenting with on the Lunatic version 2, we now are max mileage fuel-borne catalyst customers, and we're a big fan of that product as well. So it was a natural thing. We kind of attracted to each other about a year ago, and we've been proud to bring them to present those guys to you every week, and sing their praises, because we truly believe in the product. One of the things that Chris and I decided to do here early on is we don't take just random sponsorship. If we don't believe in the product and we don't think it's something that's worthwhile, we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to products, And we had some offers, and we had some guy wanting to have us sell coffee and all this kind of stuff. It's just not. Chris looked into where the charity money goes, and it was no.
Well, that just in case they're hearing, their charity wasn't a problem.
Okay,
it was another charity that I looked into, because I always look into these people, because I don't take anything at face value. I can't leave nothing alone. I can't enjoy nothing,
Well, anyway, we passed them, so they went to Dave Nemo. They were on David Nemo's show for a long time. So, but anyway, that's beside the point. So anyway, that's we'd like to again thank Pittsburgh Power. You guys, if you would, obviously patronize them, the products that we talk about, or any other diesel performance product. They have a wonderful shop. They have at least 3 electrical engineers on staff. So these are the guys that can fix electrical problems. And even in your ECM, they don't. They have the knowledge. They have the wherewithal. And of course, they're a great Detroit shop. They're a great Cummins shop. And so anyway, kudos to Pittsburgh Power. Thanks for being our sponsor.
I've got some maintenance stuff that I could bring up here and talk to y'all about. We've been chasing a problem, and I'd never experienced this, but I can remember back in the day having Kevin talk about what happens when you end up with a cooling system full of oil. It's always been the oil cooler, because you have an oil system that's running about 50 psi up against a cooling system that's about 12 psi. And so when that oil cooler fails, the pressure of the oil overrides the pressure of the coolant, and you end up with a cooling system full of oil. So we had that happen. I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 months ago. And as soon as the driver reported, hey, my coolant is black, I went, uh-oh, I know what's happened. So we brought the truck in, and we confirmed that the oil cooler was indeed bad. We did a pressure test on it, and bubbles flew out of it. We're like, oh, we absolutely have a bad oil cooler. We replaced the oil cooler. We put the truck back in service. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, we had a little bit of oil show up in the coolant. And I had a talk with the shop, and he was like, well, man, we flushed and flushed and flushed and flushed, but maybe there was some residual oil that we couldn't get out in the flush, and it's made its way to the top in the reservoir. So we drained the reservoir, put about a gallon of coolant in it, and then continued to drive it another 2 or 3 weeks. And in a completely, what I believe is an unrelated matter, a heater hose ruptured. Just a little 1-inch silicone hose had ruptured. And I sent a guy out to fix it. It wasn't a big deal. And he says, hey, man, you realize this cooling system is full of oil? And I'm like, oh, come on now. So we got the truck back here. And I mean, for the nerds that are listening like me, that love these kinds of details. Okay. Let me give you some data that's going to mess with your mind.
Mhm.
The truck presents 1 gallon low of oil. We have a couple 100,000 miles of tracking on this truck, and it has never consumed oil. It has never consumed oil so much that it was about to be a candidate for a new product that Pittsburgh Power is going to release with base. We're going to test it on this truck because our base numbers went low because we were not replenishing oil. This engine was so tight that it was not consuming oil. So the truck shows up 1 gallon low of oil. We dump some coolant out of it, put it in a 5-gallon water jug, and once it settles and the coolant went to the bottom and the oil went to the top, it was 50-50. So we're 1 gallon low, but we've got a cooling system that is half oil and half coolant. Well, the cooling system holds 10 gallons. So you can imagine that we're baffled. Where did all this oil come from? Why is the truck only a gallon low? The drivers have not reported they've added any oil to the truck. It's a gallon low, but it's got 5 gallons of oil in the coolant. But the only thing that made any sense was that we had a bad cooler again, because any other place in the engine, the air compressor, the injector cups, the head gasket, a cracked head, leaking cylinder seal, what? Not cylinder,
Sleeve seal.
Yeah, no, not sleeve.
Injector cup.
No.
Well, yeah, I'm out of ideas.
Well, I'm thinking my drink's working on me a little bit.
I wish you could see what he's drinking, by the way.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it looks like diabetes.
Somebody will
in
help
to
me.
So
Somebody will help me. No, there's not much sugar in there. It's mainly liquor.
Alcohol is sugar. Okay, so
liner. Thank you. See, Chris Dolan, bless his heart. Liner seals. Anyway, anytime you have oil and coolant intersect, you're going to have coolant in oil, not oil in coolant. Okay. So we're trying to figure out how to test this cooler because nothing else makes sense. If this cooler is good, there's something catastrophically wrong with this engine I was on the phone with Pittsburgh Power. Bruce and Brian at Pittsburgh Power and I had a conference about this. And they're like, guys, if it's not the cooler, we don't know what else could be possibly wrong. Well, I took the cooler up to the Detroit shop because they have some tools or supposedly had some tools to test this cooler, give it a more rigorous test. Because the first test we did, it passed. It did not show any leaking. And we're like, man, we're really in trouble here because this cooler tested, it passed the same test that the old cooler failed. Well, I took it up to the Detroit shop, and apparently they just filled it up with a chemical and left it out overnight. And when they came in this morning, there was fluid everywhere because the cooler had leaked. So on the happy side, we have confirmed that we have a bad cooler out of the box and that we don't have something catastrophic going on in this engine. Now, fingers and toes crossed that the new cooler we got to replace the new cooler that replaced the bad one is not all so bad, but we're about to slap this truck back together. But this is an illustration of how you just can't ever quit. You just have to keep going. You have to be relentless. You have to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but does it make sense? And I talked to Detroit, a seasoned Detroit mechanic. I talked to Pittsburgh Power. I talked to everybody that I could talk to, and we all agreed it just doesn't make sense. Well, finally, we have a diagnosis that makes sense. And I want to stress to y'all that the only reason that I know a lot of this stuff is because I've walked down these paths. Of course, I've been around enough good people like Carl that had that common sense kind of approach to it that, listen, if it walks like a duck and squawks like a duck, it's got to be a duck. Okay. It just has to be. But, you've got to take your time. You've got to think it through. I mean, I was getting ready to redneck together my own pressure testing apparatus. I mean, I was going to set this son of a bitch on fire, and I was going to put 120 PSI on it. I'm like, by God, we're going to find out if this thing's going to leak or not. You know,
listen, you can't say publicly that you're going to set something on fire that's insured. Okay. So we didn't
not
say
the
that.
whole
Not
truck,
the truck.
not the truck, just the cooler.
Right. Now, tomorrow morning, the truck burns to the ground. Guess what? It was him. Insurance fraud people, it was him. Okay, not me.
Listen, I'm not going to say that I ain't been tempted. Okay, especially with some of these new trucks, it's like, you know, if you've got a lighter, there's just been so many times that, well, and we had it on a truck that was one of our podcast listeners that went to Chris Dolan's this week and had a low power issue. He had a bad turbo. He had a charger cooler that was pouring. We fixed all that. I went on a test drive with him, and I look over, and the thing still won't run right. You know, gets up to 1,500 RPMs, just sits there. And I'm like, why will this thing not go bobtail? And I look over, and I had put a scan gauge in for him. And I look over, and wide open throttle, the scan gauge says 58%. And I'm like, we've got a problem. We went back, pulled the accelerator out of it, put another accelerator in. Now, all of a sudden, he's got 100% of his throttle response. I said, listen, you better watch out. That thing's going to snap your neck when you step on it. You got a new turbo, new charge air cooler, and an accelerator pedal that works. You better hold on, Hoss. But that's, you know, that's what it takes. Well, here's Niven's in the house.
I saw that.
Have you guys had any EGR cooler issues, and what does it look like? I think I might be dealing with one, but I'm not sure yet. The only cooler issue that I've had was generally what I've always heard. If you have an EGR cooler issue, I mean, all it is it's really kind of a radiator if you really kind of get down to the brass tacks, because the hot exhaust gases from the EGR are sent down into the cooler. And then the cooler is kind of a big radiator that has fluid running through it to cool those gases before they're sent up and across the engine back into the intake.
Right.
Well, the only real failure that you can have with an EGR cooler is a fluid leak, that deterioration inside that would allow that coolant to escape, or I guess the other way, to allow the boost to escape into the cooling system. So I guess it's theoretically possible that you could have combustion in the coolant, which would pressurize your cooling system, causing it to override the cap and push coolant out. But what I've always heard is if you check the crossover tube and you find any coolant residue inside that tube that runs across the engine over to the intake, then that tells you that the coolant radiating part of your cooler has failed. And basically what your engine is doing is eating coolant. You're having to add coolant to the truck. You can't find external leaks. You don't know where it's going. And what's happening is when that thing boosts up, goes into EGR mode, and it puts boost into that cooler, then that coolant's getting in there. Or, like I said, conversely, it's pressurizing your cooling system and causing it to go out the overflow. Yeah. So it depends on which one of the two it's presenting with.
The cooling system has about a 15 PSI maximum pressure. Obviously, the turbo is going to be way more than that. So the turbo is going to win. It's going to push the turbo gases into the coolant, and you're going to have bubbles coming out of the reservoir, I think. So
when I had a drop liner on my truck, I was losing coolant out the overflow. And so I took the overflow hose and ran it into a gallon jug that I zip tied to the radiator support, and I could climb a hill and fill a gallon jug with coolant. Mm-hmm. And I milked it for 10,000 miles before it finally came apart. And because I had that really light load of windows that I would take across I-68 up into Massachusetts, New York. And then I had a load of glass that I would bring back from Geneva, New York, back to West Virginia. Well, I learned how to manage throttle because I knew I had to keep the boost down to keep from blowing all my coolant out. and which is kind of what helped me be the fuel mileage guy that I am today, because I just learned how to be so gentle on that throttle, because if I mashed it to the floor, the coolant was going to leave the chat, you know, and then I'd fill it up and I'd empty it back into the top. And there was one time I stopped at the TA in Erie, and you would have to be so, there's a lot of pressure in that cooling system, and I'd be so gingerly trying to take that cap loose to let the pressure off so that I could, you know, add coolant or whatever. Well, there was a reefer beside me and I couldn't hear when it started to hiss. So I went too far, and buddy, that cap shot up and hit the canopy. I'd like to never found it because it hit the canopy and then it bounced off the roof of my truck, rolled down and went all, and it shot coolant straight up to hit the lights underneath the canopy and I think I drove it another 2,000 or 3,000 miles like that before it finally let go.
William says you became the number 2 fuel mileage guy.
Oh, come on now.
Hey,
You
that's
shut
true.
your mouth.
He got 7 miles per gallon plus out of a classic that Chris could never
Listen,
get more than 6 out of. So
I'm not worthy.
it's
okay?
true. It is absolutely true.
I am not worthy.
William Haynes is the OG fuel mileage guy in our program ever. I don't think he'll ever be caught. I don't know what he did. Phil thinks he just coasted downhill all the time. So I don't know.
Or he was just buying a bunch of fuel, you know, and not telling us.
Yeah, I don't think that happened. But
here's a good question from Matthew. Now, Anik said this right. Monzies, I think she said it right. She got complimented. Do you guys have a ranking as far as aero goes for lunatic trucks? The T600 is the OG aero truck, and there are others like the 377 Pete that seem to be somewhere in the middle, but no data. Why, that is 100% accurate statement. The T600 is the OG aero truck. It was I want to say, some of you PACCAR fanatics can correct me, but I want to say 91 or 92. Might have been as late as 94 when the T600 came out, and everybody hated it. I think they look cool. But the Kenworth T600 came out as an aerodynamic truck. Now, of course, it was out there alongside the FLD, but the FLD didn't. I mean, it never really did get all that aerodynamic. It was better than the classic. And then 377, the 377 Pete. 377 Petes were actually an interesting animal because there were some fleets in I want to say the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, that, and used to see them all the time, but they're almost non-existent anymore. But it was a 377 Peterbilt with sloped fenders, didn't have the big stick out headlights, didn't have the air cans, didn't have the stacks on the side, had a big air dam on top that was as tall as a sleeper. And so it looked like a Peterbilt. It was ugly, but it was compared to a 379. It was incredibly aerodynamic, and there were a bunch of them that had Detroit 12.7s in them, right? And so I remember Kevin talking about this. Probably in the mid to late 2000s when everybody started switching gears and going to direct drives and all that stuff, trying to save fuel mileage. The 377 for the PACCAR guys was really one of the most sought after trucks because sitting inside, you were in a 379. Looking at it from the curb, you know, it was an ugly 377. Yeah, T600, that's what I was thinking, 87, 88, 89. So it came out in that time, and it was revolutionary for what it was at that time. And I have seen a handful, well, they're hard to find, but I have seen a handful of T600 studios with a 12.7 Detroit with the big tall air dam. And I would believe that they would compete with the Columbia Centuries on their aerodynamics. Here's the problem. Good luck finding parts for them at this point, you know, because you're talking, I mean, 87 doesn't seem that long ago to me, but 87 was a long ass time ago. So even back to 2000, 2001, what was the last year that you could get a Detroit in a PACCAR? 02?
Had to be 01 because that's when they sold. That's when they were bought by by
Daimler.
Benz, and so they no longer would sell them to their competitors.
Yeah, it must have been
So it had to be an
01 or early 02.
Well, 01 you could get it. 02 you could not.
So, you know, if you wanted, like if you were just, I need to have a T600 or a 377, you're looking at 2001. I mean, gosh, good luck, guys. I mean, it's needle in a haystack. But again, remember, why are we in this? For the money. Okay. We're in this to manage risk, to spend as little as possible. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Freightliner, Columbia, or Century. When you're looking for a truck that is a needle in a haystack, you're going to pay dearly for it, especially find one that somebody knows what they've got and it's in good shape. You're going to pay a fortune just to acquire that truck. And then you have to maintain it. And the Peterbilt or the PACCAR parts and service network is an absolute
good
nightmare.
luck with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Will you close that door over there for me? So I agree. I mean, as an old school trucker, I love the T600. I think it's a cool looking truck, especially because you could get a T600 with a studio. So you had the nice driver comfort. You had the big long wheelbase. They handled like a dream. They ride good. They handle good. Like they checked every box that you wanted them to check. But if Daimler would have not gotten Detroit out and you could get an 04, 05, 06, like with a 14 liter, oh, hell yeah. I'd be all over it. But they're just almost impossible to find now. I have a TikTok question. Any idea the cost to replace oil cooler on a 2007 ISX and coolant system flush out? So if Chris Dolan is still watching this, maybe he can give us a.
Let's explain who Chris Dolan is, shouldn't we?
We probably should. Chris Dolan is the owner, operator, chief cook, and bottle washer of Cam's Service Center in Dunbar, West Virginia, which is just outside.
Don't leave out the M part of that.
I'm getting to the M.
Okay.
I ain't going to leave the M out.
You don't build him up too big, okay?
Because we know who's running the show.
Absolutely. We know who's the boss there, okay? So.
Dunbar, West Virginia, which is just outside Charleston. Chris got a small shop. He's got a handful of good guys. And just like this, chasing this thing this week, we just kept chasing it down, he's got 24-hour road service, super duper guy. The M in Cam's, CAM, is for Margie. And Margie's the boss. Okay, let's just all be honest.
No question.
Who's in charge?
No question about it. He's smart enough guy to admit that, so. But yes, Cam's in Dunbar. We and again, I don't want to make him sound like he's second fiddle because he's not. But we had Carl. We didn't need anybody. We had the OG, okay. But then when Carl's health started sliding, we had to find somebody that we could go to, and it just stumbled upon Chris and Margie, and we've really come to really love working with them. Great people, very fair. We had a podcast listener there this week, and we heard about it today. I mean, and it was Chris worked on that truck all week, and charged the guy like 9 hours labor. So now I'm not saying that that's the deal you're going to get, and he's probably going to kill me for saying that, but he's fair.
The big thing is he didn't try to kill the guy.
No.
No. Chris, yes, we need to change the oil filters. And no, I did not bring an OPS filter. And I will correct that error. I've got one. Well, I had one sitting over here on this tape. I don't know what happened to it. But yes, we need to change everything on that truck. But like I said, we had a question on TikTok about, changing doing an oil cooler on an ISX and flushing out the cooling system. So if you want to throw a number out there, we will let these folks know.
Right.
Hey, there's a guy named Muhammad on TikTok that says he loves this broadcast. So
we do too, Muhammad. Glad you're in good company. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Oh gosh, that went down the wrong hole.
Yeah, that's what happens when you drink all that sugar.
Christopher Sickles, what do you recommend as a good starter truck that's an automatic?
Hmm.
We don't.
Well, there's a problem in your question. Okay,
Here's the answer to your question. If you want to be in business as an owner operator, you'll be better off to spend the money to get the automatic transmission restriction that I assume you have off of your license than try to find an automatic truck, because the risk level that you will encounter with an automatic truck is going to be so great that it would be much more worth your while. And there is a guy in West Virginia. I'm trying to think. Give me a minute. It's CDL Assist or CDL Fix or CDL something in Southern West Virginia. I've talked to him. It's been a couple of years, but I had a conversation with him about this, and I at least know that it's possible that there's some hoops you have to jump through. But if you have an automatic transmission restriction on your license, and that's what's generating this question. Now, if you're just a candy ass that don't want to shift gears, I can't help you. It is CDL Assist. Somebody, it is CDL Assist. Call that guy. He has the experience. Now, I don't know if you're not in West Virginia. I don't know if he can help you. I don't know. But I do know that there is a procedure that you can go through to get the automatic transmission restriction removed from your license, which is evil and immoral and should not be allowed to happen. But that's a whole other discussion.
You need to call the CDL Assist and tell him that he needs to sponsor the podcast. If he's going to get
that's a fantastic idea.
So, see, I'm the numbers guy.
He is a numbers guy.
You know, he just talks and talks and talks and talks. I'm the one that has to pay the bill. So, yeah, this CDL, this automatic restriction, that's shameful. If you're listening to us and you have not gone to CDL school and you're looking at getting into business, please do not go to a CDL school that only allows you to get an automatic CDL, because you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You know, it's forcing you to buy a truck that you really don't want to have as your first truck, and it just robs you of all the opportunity that. I don't have any microphones that I can put on him, so it's going to be that way.
I'm talking to TikTok. Go ahead. They can't hear you on TikTok.
Can't hear me?
Yeah, because I don't have the microphone stuff working. So,
see what I put up. Back to that producer thing again, okay?
Listen, hey, you let me go wild on the American Express card. I'll fix every problem you got.
I think we need somebody else's expertise on the American Express card. Okay?
Well, if TikTok wasn't such a pain in the ass and let us have
they don't like
the ability
TikTok,
to
okay?
stream.
You make people mad on TikTok.
Well,
they kick you off all the time. I've watched
there are people that that broadcast on TikTok using Restream. We just don't have the special super secret sauce to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to turn on these microphones and see if this will work.
All right.
And
Purple Yeti. So does it actually? I need to click that. So does it actually come down to how much risk we're able to tolerate when running automatic? Yeah. I mean, look, if you're listening to us and you do what we say, we don't want you to go in debt to buy a truck. So that means you've got to buy a truck that you can pay cash for. Well, just like the emission systems, the early automatics were not reliable. They put a lot of people out of business just because they couldn't be fixed reasonably. And so why take on that risk for no reason at all? It's one more level of risk that you don't have to start in business and stay in business. So no, we don't recommend it. Now, if you're not starting out and you want an automatic because you like, not shifting or the luxury of it, and you're paying cash for the truck, more power to you. Everybody's got to remember, you got to keep in mind there's an overriding policy that we have here. And that policy is that our market, the people whose advice we are giving to, are people that are first-time owner-operators buying their first truck. So keep that in mind. So in this situation, no, there's no way we recommend you to get an automatic truck. Because, again, you're assuming risk that you don't need to assume. It's hard enough to stay in business with minimum risk. So why add more risk to the equation? So that's the reason why we don't recommend that. So.
Well, listen, We have an automatic truck that we brought into the fleet, and I drove it from the TA and Hurricane up to Chris's shop. And about, I don't know, what is it, from exit 39 to exit 50? It's 11 miles. Okay. About 6 miles in, I thought, you know what? I'm 47. Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, this is nice. This is cushy. I could probably, and then son of a bitch just shut off for no reason. It just, boop, like you turn the key off, and on the shoulder I go, and then it starts back up, and then it shuts off again, and then it starts back up, and it shuts off again. And I'm like, okay, just to hell with it. Give me an automatic. Give me a manual and a 25-year-old truck that won't just shut off for no reason. So right when the minute it almost had me thinking, man, this shifting gear stuff is kind of for the birds. And then it just quits for no reason.
But you're also not a new owner operator buying your first truck.
Correct.
That's the difference here. Okay. We're not trying to preach to people who've got established businesses. I don't care what you buy, as long as you can afford it. But affording it includes not just making the payment, being able to handle the risk. So, and again, that's our opinion.
So
somebody realized that there's a truck for sale. Okay, it's on here. You may want to buy a truck. Looks like it's potentially a lunatic truck, but we don't know much about it. like most truck ads, the things that are important are not listed there.
Uh-oh. What happened? Somebody just went away.
Me.
Yeah. Well, you might have to refresh your browser. I love this username, Bugatti the Trucker. There he is. He's back. 2000. Well, and he went away again. All right. 2003 Freightliner for sale. Okay. Bugatti the Trucker. Here's what I want you to understand. I need to know I know what motor it's got, and it should have a 12.7 Detroit at 2003. I need to know what rear end gear ratio is in it. I need to know what transmission's in it. I would like to know what final drive is in that transmission, but it's not absolutely necessary. I would like to know, it's not deleted because it's 2003. I'd like to know, do you have any paperwork on it? Because we're always fascinated when people say, man, we got 300,000 miles on an end frame. Awesome. Let me see that paperwork. Oh, I lost it. Well, listen, I've got every damn receipt we've ever, I've got them all.
Especially one that cost in excess of $15,000.
$25,000. Yeah.
I'm always amazed at all these end frames.
I can't find that receipt. Yeah.
I spent 15, 20 grand. I don't have a receipt for it. So that's a little shady. So
Bugatti send us an email, BRLS, Bravo, Romeo, Lima, Sierra podcast @gmail.com. And let us know about it. And maybe we'll, one of the lunatics here. Hey, Luke, I have good news. It ain't your truck. It was another guy's truck.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, okay, full disclosure. On these Cascadias, there is a little box on the firewall called a PNDB, Papa Nancy Delta Bravo. It's some sort of distribution box. It's about this big, and it cost about, I don't know, $350, $375 from the dealership. This is what causes these trucks to shut off. I learned this on YouTube. Because you'll be driving along, and it shuts off, and it clicks, and then it starts up, and it shuts off, and it clicks, and it starts in. But it's this distribution box. It's got like 3 lugs on one side and some fuses and switches in it. And so we fixed it, and it's fine. But it's just kind of a funny way of telling that story, that right about the time this thing had me convinced that I might like to drive an automatic, it reminded me all the reasons that I don't want any damn thing to do with it. Here, so Niven's got a question. How are you guys running? Wait a minute.
How are we running?
How are we running the scan gauges? Okay. There's an unnecessary question mark. How are you guys running the scan gauge cables in your trucks where the port is next to the door and not under the dash? Okay. In a Century Columbia C120, I take the plate up where the door plate where you step on
threshold,
the threshold. And take that up. Take
Seal
those three
plate.
screws out.
Seal
Seal
plate's
plate.
actually
Thank
what
you.
it's called.
Take that plate up. Now, if you have the Century that has the tilt over on the air switch, you pull that yellow knob off, and there's a clip in the side. You can pull that clip out, and you take that panel, that kick panel, and you turn it like this. You pull the bottom back, and the front forward, and that whole panel will twist out and remove itself. And then you remove the door, so you pull the door seal back, and then that whole panel that down beside the windshield, that will pull out. Okay. Then on the left side of the steering wheel, there's two switches. Usually it's utility light and your override shutdown. And there's a plate that goes around it. It just pops off. It's got two clips. You pop that clip off. There's one T25 screw underneath that vent on the left side of the dash. Take that T25 screw out, if it ain't already broke. Guarantee it's already broke.
Or missing.
Then grab that whole vent and yank, and that whole vent will come out in one piece on that left side of the dash. That allows you room to run that scan gauge wire from the ECM diagnostic port underneath the seal plate up beside the dash and back, and then flip it over to where it's coming out by the windshield. Then you take and put the vent back, put the screw in that's probably unnecessary because it's already broke, put the side piece in beside the windshield, put the clip back on around the switches, twist your other thing reverse like this, back, top, back, and bottom, back in, set that down, put your little switch back on, put your seal plate on, put the three screws in it, good to go.
It still does stick out. It's kind of in the way. What I did was I took the two screws out that held the receptacle there out. And then when you plug the scan gauge in it, I pushed the whole thing down in the hole. So both of the receptacle and the scan gauge were now recessed back in that hole. And that way you're not kicking it and knocking it loose all the time.
You've basically got just enough cable.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you can get that's just a RJ,
Ethernet.
Yeah, it's like an RJ or something connector. You can actually get an extension cord if you need it. So
I like this one. I know this might be a broad, vague question, but speaking of risk, when is it good to take risky business decisions? Wait a minute. When is it good to take risky business situations?
When you can afford it.
When you have
to lose the money.
When you have $1 million.
It's like going to Vegas. When you can afford to flush it down the toilet and not blink, you're fine. Until then, I would highly recommend you not do it. So.
I'm answering a question on TikTok. Is that the box that was next to the impossible to get that people were stealing? No. On the Freightliner, there is a CPC, Charlie Papa Charlie. There's a CPC in the dash that does something. I don't know what. This is on the firewall under the hood. It's just a damn fuse box, basically, is all it is. And then it decides to freaking go haywire and shut the damn truck off and start it and off and on and off and on and off and on until it'll drive you to drink. So that's a TikTok question. I have one more TikTok question from Muhammad. 2018 T680 Kenworth. I'm getting hard time with DPF system. Is it worse to buy Force DPF regen? Well, Muhammad, let me answer it this way. Find a vendor. You're running a 2018. Find a vendor that will do a diesel force cleaning or DPF alternatives. DPF alternatives, you're going to have a shop involved because they've got to take parts off and take it to the DPF cleaning alternatives people. The diesel force cleaning people, they plug a machine up and they flush all of the soot and all of the dirt out of your emission system. So I would find a diesel force, Precision Trucks. Oh gosh, what's it called? PTS.
Just
Precision Truck Solutions in Coshocton, Ohio. They have the facilities where they can do the diesel force cleaning. They can run all the codes. They can check all the sensors, but you've got to get that stuff cleaned out.
And also Pittsburgh Power does it.
And Pittsburgh Power
and you can Google it. There are franchises all over the country. But here's what you need, and this is what we're doing right now. We're experimenting with the 2016 and the 2018 Cascadia with DD15, with obviously all the emissions.
And driving need a drink.
We do not delete trucks here. I will not touch, will not allow anybody here to run a deleted truck. So we have to make the trucks manageable the way they're manufactured. And so we have found that if we'll take a truck that's had all these problems, because by the time they're 2016 or 2018, they've got a lot of miles on them. And if we get this diesel force cleaning performed on the truck and get it cleaned up, and then run the max mileage catalyst from that point forward, every 250,000 miles, you re-clean it, and you don't have any issues anymore. So that's the problem. So if you want to fix the problem, that's how you go about fixing it.
And the thing is, if you follow the lunatic model and you're running an OPS and doing extended drains like we do, well, you just understand that 250,000 is the most you're ever going to get on your oil, right? You had 400,000 one time, right?
Well, I never had an oil sample that said change it.
Correct.
I literally could have had 1.8 million miles on my oil. Because I never had I never had a bad labs before.
But because you have to put a chemical in the oil as a part of the diesel force cleaning,
you have to get rid of it.
You're going to have to dump your oil.
Part of the process is dumping the oil, because it puts all that stuff in the oil. So, but yes, that's what you need to do. The scan gauge measures anything that the ECM captures.
You can look at voltage. You can look at oil pressure. You can look at boost, horsepower, instant mile per gallon, average mile per gallon, throttle position, which is what I use. That's my main tool to get good fuel mileage, is throttle position. And so, yeah, you can see how much horsepower, you can see how much boost, but throttle position was always mine. If I keep that throttle about 51 to 55%, I get good fuel mileage. You know, I let the truck do what it wants to do. If it wants to run 70, we run 70. If it wants to run 55, we run 55. You know, it's just an ebb and flow with constant. And to this point now, I can go get in any truck, lay my foot on the accelerator, 55%. It's just muscle memory, you know. But remember that the scan gauge is not a magic tool. All it does is give you feedback to make you respond better. Okay. And I mentioned this on the TikTok live last night. You might have to help me remember these numbers. But we have a truck in the fleet, 2002 Freightliner, 12.7 Detroit, 373s, 13 speed. We've tracked 260,000 miles on this truck. And the average fuel mileage over those 260,000 miles is 6.69.
Yeah,
I'm close.
In that range.
Last week, well, matter of fact, over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yes.
A driver is probably averaging 7.7. That truck does not have great tires. They're okay. They're not great. They're not shitty. They don't suck, but they're not Michelin's. It has an OPS. It's running full synthetic oil. It does not have a fleet air filter. 7.7. Okay. Don't tell me that the driver don't have anything to do with fuel mileage, because I got 266,000 miles of data on this truck that says the average is 6.6, and this old boy's doing 7.7.
Well, and we've had it before. We have trucks. We got a Volvo that was the best fuel mileage truck in the fleet.
I personally got 9.2 in that truck.
We put a driver in it, and he gets 6. Okay, so what's changed? The only variable that changed was the driver. You know, and we talk about this. You know, all the modifications we do. You know, all the specs, everything that we do to give us the best possibility of getting good fuel mileage accounts for about 60 or 70% of the potential. The rest of it lies in the driver. You know, if you're going to be a driver that's not going to drive for fuel mileage, you can overcome all the modifications that are done to it, all specs.
Right. Or
you can be a driver like this that takes the same truck and adds another mile and a half per gallon to it because of the way that the person drives. And this guy, listen, he was a company driver before. He had no experience with driving for fuel mileage. It just, he wants to.
Hey,
know?
listen, I'm going to tell you about the most childish thing I've ever done in my life. I worked for Land Air Transport based out of Tennessee doing big lots in Columbus, Ohio in 2010. I had a 2007 9400 International with an ISX 10 speed. I don't know the gear ratio. That truck got 5.5. Okay. 62 miles an hour governed, 5.5 miles per gallon. It rolled coal all the damn time. Everything was wrong with that truck. And they screamed and they whined and they bribed and they cajoled about fuel mileage, fuel mileage, fuel mileage, fuel mileage. And I'm like, this truck will not get 5.5 is it. I've tried. It sucks. So I leave and I go to Anderson Trucking. I leased a truck from them, 2007 Freightliner, 14 liter, 9 speed with the top two. So it was a 13 kind of 9 speed top two, 358 rears. I filled that thing up for the first time at the Pilot in St. Cloud, Minnesota for like $975. And I had an out of body experience. Jesus came down and touched me when I looked at that $975 that I had just put in to that fuel tank. So I take off and I get in my first week, my average fuel mileage for that first week was like 7.75. I sent my fleet manager at Land Air an email and I said, Adrian, this is probably the most childish thing that I've ever done, but here's the miles that I ran in this truck and here's the amount of gallons that I bought and here's the average. I told you it wasn't me. I told you it wasn't me. It was the damn truck the whole time, which she thought it was funny, but I couldn't leave it alone because I tried like hell to get good fuel mileage out of that piece of shit company truck and it just wouldn't do it. The thing was junk,
We were discussing fuel mileage today with the Phase 3 guys because now they're in a position to where they're choosing their fuel locations and they're having to make those decisions. So we're talking about the difference between 5 miles per gallon, 6 miles per gallon, 7 and 8. And at $3 a gallon, which is what fuel kind of is right now, it can be as much as $35,000 a year difference in your fuel expense based on just that tight little variable package right there. So once you kind of see, because when you drive a semi or a commercial vehicle, you drive 100,000 plus miles a year, you're buying a lot of fuel, so it adds up. It doesn't look like a lot. It's just a penny here, a penny there, a penny here, a penny there. But at the end of the day, it's $30,000 some dollars difference between a 5 and an 8, and sometimes the only difference between those two is the driver, so we're just trying to make it, the reason that Jared, who's the driver who got the 7.7, is because he understands for the first time now in being in this program what benefit there is in putting that money back in your pocket when you become an owner operator. That's what we're here to teach. I know Chris is not going to bring it up, so I'm going to bring it up because he's too proud to admit this. But this is why I do. This is why I'm 69 years old and get out of bed every morning and do what I do. Because guys like Chris, the other people that we have here, it is so it's so gratifying for me to be able to see guys. I mentioned this today in class. I said, look,
wait a minute, listen, I'm sorry. I love that you're doing this, but please refresh your screen so that it doesn't look like I put the focus on myself because your stupid phone quit working while you're telling all this wonderful glowing story.
Well, my phone just died. I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh.
Allow access. There we go. Now am I there?
Complaining about the producer.
Am I there?
There you are.
Okay.
Please continue.
Today, and Chris is here, and of course on a Friday he has to continue to be a fleet manager while we're teaching these classes, and so he's here at the end of the table, and he's booking loads, and he's got 2-3 monitors going, and he's doing all this stuff. And I looked at him and I said, Chris, 5 years ago, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that you'd be sitting here making the money you're making at a computer all day long instead of driving a truck?
Nope.
This is why we do what we do.
I will say that I knew it was possible. Okay. And here's the thing you don't want to hear. I had to be patient. I had to continue working at like top-notch level. I was picking up and delivering loads. I was dealing with a dedicated customer. And I kept saying, and Zeke can testify to this, man, we just got to get to this next level. If we can get to this spot, if we can get to this spot, if we can get to this spot. I knew it was possible to do what I do, where I didn't have to drive. I didn't have to be away from my wife and kids. I could be home and sit in my underwear and book loads like y'all think all the, brokers and dispatcher do, which I 100% do. Okay. I'm never going to apologize for it. But I had to keep my nose to the grindstone and work like an animal. And guess what? There were times that I said to the kids, sorry, guys, can't do it. Got to be on the road. Got to be out there. Got to do it. It sucks, but it is what it is. I made this bed. I had to lay in it. And now I'm reaping the benefits of that. And I'm perfectly okay with that.
And he has grown. He has grown as an individual, certainly grown as a professional. And it's gratifying to see that, see it from him. It's gratifying seeing it. We've got a guy that's been here. Well, y'all hear us talking about Seth all the time. Seth's getting ready to spin off and become a BCO. He owns his own truck. And I mean, it's just really, really fun for me to see guys coming here. And we've talked about Richie before. Richie came here 23 years old. We gave him zero chance of succeeding here. When we do an orientation, I shouldn't say this. We do an orientation after it's over with. Chris and I kind of get together and we kind of go, okay, what's the odds on that one? What's the odds on that one? What's 12%. The odds on that one? We had 0% for Richie. Okay, there's no chance.
No.
And now here he is, 24, 25 years old, owns his own truck. Okay.
Engaged to be married.
Got engaged this past weekend.
She said yes.
That's amazing. But anyway. But, here's a guy, today we talked about people's ages and if they haven't reached their financial goals yet, how much time they have left to do it. And it's kind of eye-opening because most people kick that can down the road till they're in their 40s or 50s. And then they go, oh, shit, I'm not going to make it if I don't do something drastically. Can you imagine coming here as a 23-year-old and now having 50 years or 45 years or whatever of good prime time if he's not, I told him this before, Richie, if you're not a gazillionaire, I'm going to come back from the grave and whip your ass. Okay. Because you have every opportunity, you have no excuse, you now know, you understand how this works. You understand how to make and save money. You have no excuse. You guys that come here are 50, 55. We've had guys come here that are 65 years old. And they're broke and desperate and they don't know what to do. So they come here thinking that we're going to be able to give them this magic potion. And they find out that, well, you got to come here and work, which you could have been doing all your life, but you didn't. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden you're desperate. You do it. And it's sad, but there's nothing I can do about that. But getting back to this point I'm trying to make, it's really, really, really fun for me to be able to know that I can affect guys' livelihood, change their life, and give them something that I've been blessed with my life to do. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up. And I do agree that he has certainly.
Some people would call it contributing to the delinquency. Hey, Larry.
Sir?
How do you calculate MPG?
Are you serious?
It's a question.
Is this a real question?
Listen, wait a minute. Time out. Okay. We just have to understand the world that we live in. Okay. I grew up in a time when my dad and my grandfather tracked gas mileage like it was a competition. So I thought it was completely normal to have a notepad in the glove box of your little shit box car in 1986 that you wrote down the mileage every time and you divided the number of miles that you drove by the number of gallons and you got your fuel mileage so that you go to your father-in-law and gloat that you got better gas mileage than he did. Right. I thought that was completely normal until I went, wait a minute, what's wrong with your dad? I'm in the car with my buddy's dad. I'm like, hey, what's wrong with your dad? He's not calculating his gas mileage. And he's like, because he doesn't give a shit. And I'm like, oh, Okay.
I probably shouldn't have reacted that way, and I apologize for it. But it's such a simple.
But in 2023,
I understand, but we don't know how old this guy
people
is. but
literally are
let me-
never
let me-
taught
let me
very
answer the-
simple.
can I answer the
things. Go
question?
ahead,
Okay,
please.
let me answer the
continue.
So, Royal
Muzzle
Rise, if this is a serious question, I'm going to give you a serious answer. First of all, it's a math problem, simply in math. It's miles over gallons, okay? Now, here's the trick though. And again, we teach this here because you've heard this old saying, garbage in, garbage out. So if you want this fuel mileage number to be accurate, you have to be consistent and you have to be deliberate in your measurements, okay? So here's what you have to do. You have to first of all, you have to refill the tank. You have to fill up the tank in order for you to start this process. So, because you're replacing used gallons of fuel. Now, in a big truck, that's not as easy to do as you think it is because you've got tanks that are this big around and this long, and they hold 100, 125, 150 gallons each, and you've got two of them. And there's really the filler cap is it's kind of on an angle. It's not at the top. So you can't fill it up like you would a gas can for your lawnmower. You can only fill it up so far and then you got to stop. Well, in a tank that big, a vessel that big, an inch could be 20 gallons. I don't know. I don't know.
Y'all didn't dream you were going to get this answer. Go ahead.
You asked the question. I'm giving you the answer. Okay. If you don't want the answer, don't ask the question. All right. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you're filling up your tanks consistently every time. If you don't, this number's garbage. All right. So let's get that understood first. You got to fill up to the same level every time. Now, I tell our guys here, the only way I know to have a visual way of doing that is to find something in the tank that you can see. And what I use, always did and teach, is that we use the weld in the neck, the filler neck, because you can see that. And if you fill up the fuel to that point every time, you're as close as you're going to be able to get to be able to duplicate that fill up every time. So that's step one. The next step is you have to keep the odometer mileage from every fill up. Now, our guys simply write it on the fuel receipt because we have them scan the fuel receipt in. So now we have the odometer, we have the miles, and now we have the gallons. It's just division from that point on, okay? Now, if you don't want to do it this way, there's a free app called Fuel Gauges. It's free.
Free.
You can download it on your phone, and you still have to fill up the tank properly, but you can enter in the gallons, you can enter in the miles, and it'll do the math for you. And it'll also give you your 30-day, your 60-day, your 90-day, your lifetime. So that's how we figure MPG, all right? MPG is an important number to have because fuel is your number one expense, okay? You're going to spend more on fuel than anything else in trucking except you. And we have found that it's also the easiest expense to impact because you can make decisions that will affect how much fuel costs you by buying it at the right place where it's on sale and by improving your fuel mileage and using less of it. Both of those are going to raise your miles per gallon, which is going to lower your overall operating cost. Now, I'm going to give you an answer that you didn't ask for because it's equally as important as this one. Once you know your MPG, now it's important that you know your CPM. That's cost per mile. Because how do you know how to pick a load off the load board if you have no idea how much it costs to move your truck a foot or a mile or 5 miles? So there is a formula for doing that as well. And here's very simply this: total expenses divided by total miles. All miles, not just paid miles, all miles. That will give you a number. Ours right now is about $1.58 a mile. That pisses a lot of people off, okay? Because I can take a load that pays $1.59 and make money.
Yep.
Now, I'm not making a lot. Everybody gets paid and I make a penny. But for every mile our fleet of 12 trucks drives, that adds up. I don't have to make a lot on each truck, okay? So, but look at the number of loads that are available for somebody that can haul freight for $2 and make a decent profit, as opposed to somebody that has to haul freight at $4. And there's not that many loads available, especially in this climate. So you ask a really, really pertinent question,
An important question
to today's economic things, and that is paying attention to what stuff costs. Again, fuel is your number one cost by far. Nothing else comes close to it. you're going to spend $50,000, $75,000 easy a year in fuel in this economy, or more, depending on how bad your fuel mileage is or how good. And you can change that simply by improving what you pay for it. And you go, well, how do you do that? Well, if you'll compare prices, fuel is very volatile. There's a place in Effingham, Illinois, where there's a fuel stop on every corner.
There's 4 of them.
I've seen the fuel 50 cents a gallon difference between one and the other there.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if you don't pay attention to that, you think it doesn't matter. Multiply 50 cents times the number of gallons you use in a year. Okay. Which, by the way, is about 100,000. Okay.
Mhm.
It's a big number. It's a big number. And all you're doing is raising your consciousness, your awareness of how much you're using and how much you're paying for it. Now, if you're at Landstar, we have an easy way of doing that. It's called the Landstar One app. It will tell you what the fuel prices are all over the country. It refreshes every so often. If you're not at Landstar, you have to do a little research. You have to find some place to get current fuel prices. NASTC has a way of doing it. There are places you can search, but you have to do a little research. So.
We have developments coming from ProMiles.
We do.
That we'll talk about.
And that's part of our exciting news we're going to talk about a little later. So
Okay.
did I answer your question?
I've got two from TikTok I want to hit right quick. I can't put them on the screen. Have y'all ever used OTR, supposed to allow you to read codes, delete codes, and do force regens? Phil, I don't know if it's this particular one you're talking about, but I know Phil has one where he has an app and he can plug into the diagnostic port. Because one of the unfortunate truths of these newer trucks is you'll have a thing called a ghost code, which will be some some planets align, and it creates a code. And if you could just delete that code, nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad's going to happen, but the code's just going to go away and the engine light goes away. So it's one thing that we're considering. Now, I don't know that it's this one you're talking about, OTR, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this: if I was an owner operator, and maybe if I was a company driver, and I had one of these trucks that can leave me sitting on the side of the road for no damn reason, and I could spend a couple $100 on an app and a thing to plug in, I probably would absolutely do that. And a second question from the same guy, you'll love this one.
Me? I'll love it.
Do you think putting super singles on a 389 would help any with the fuel mileage? 389 is the big square.
I understand. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. So, it's
all right, Peterbilt people. He's waged war on you.
Why? Okay. So we're gonna here's my honest answer. You've got a square hood, square grill that's pushing air down the road like a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably got an 18-inch drop bumper on it that's pushing air down on the wall. Okay. You've got these great big air filters out there that are as dirty air as you possibly can create.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got those stacks. So you're giving up, I don't know how many miles per gallon with the aerodynamics, and you want to pick up another half a mile per gallon by the tires are on it. I think
a half a mile per gallon. Well, but listen, William Haynes, who was in this very comment section not an hour ago, got in a 2000 or 2001, I can't remember, 2001 Classic with a 12.7, 373s and shitty tires, and got average over 7 miles per gallon because he chose to drive it right. So the real answer to the question is yes. No. Super singles would help your fuel mileage.
I disagree.
Well, yeah, they would.
No, I disagree.
Well, okay.
Anyway. It's my opinion. You asked my opinion. Here's my opinion.
Okay.
If you're really concerned about fuel mileage, buy a different truck. Okay. Then put super singles on that. Now you've got the advantage of the low rolling resistance, and you don't have all the aerodynamic problems. For what reason? To look good?
He's a hater.
He's
a bigoted,
I hate people
prejudiced.
I hate people who piss money away. Okay. And then come and cry because they need to rob from a broker to stay in business.
Here he goes, TikTok.
Okay?
Y'all get ready.
So yeah, so let me just buy a fucked up truck, and then let me go tell these people that they need to not make the decent amount of money because I chose to drive this truck and I can't make any money. So I need you to give me your money. No, I
Greg,
disagree.
go get him another
100%.
bourbon.
I've still got one over here. I'm still good.
Look, I'm a boy. I like trucks. I like shiny trucks. I like pretty trucks. I agree with you. Okay, that nothing looks better than a flat top Peterbilt with great big stacks going down the road pulling a reefer trailer that's like 17 feet behind the back of the cab. Looks cool as hell. But I'm in business to make money. Okay.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here, right? To me, trucking is so hard. It's so difficult that I'm not going to make something hard even harder because I want to impress people that I probably wouldn't like if I met them anyway, right? So I'm going to drive my plastic ass Freightliner and I'm going to make all the money. Now, when I get to where I've made all the money and I want to buy a flat top Peterbilt with great big stacks and put the reefer, 72 feet behind me because my frame is 912 inches long, whatever.
Absolutely.
You pay for it.
At that point
Go
in
for it.
time, I'm happy with it. Pull your RV around the country with it. That's fine.
That's a
But
hell of an idea right there.
I understand. Did I ever tell you the story? The first time, the first super singles I put on my truck way back in 2009, there is a place up in Indianapolis where Flying J sells their used.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Right there
Mhm.
next to Flying J. They sell their used trucks there, tractors. And they all had singles because all those trucks pulled fuel. And that's the first customer that used super singles. So you could go over there and they sold those trucks primarily to local farmers. That was their number one
Yeah.
market. Farmers didn't want the super singles. So they could I could trade my duals, even money, and walk around the parking lot and choose the mounted tire on the super single, even money.
Mhm.
Okay. So the truck that I bought the tires off of was a 389 Pete. Okay. Flat top. So I had to drive it to this tire place. And then I had to Uber back and drive my truck to the tire place to get them swapped. So I drove a 389 Pete for the first time in my life. Okay. I'd only been trucking for less than a year. And I couldn't, I'm thinking, I'm all of a sudden, I'm at the Lamborghini
I just want to
of
be
trucks.
clear. This was a day cab, right?
It was a day cab.
Doesn't count.
It sucked.
Does not.
It sucked out
count.
loud.
Does
Okay.
not count.
It bounced. It was noisy. I mean, I wouldn't give you, if you gave me one of them, I'd just turn it away.
Doesn't count.
It
okay?
sucked. Okay. So
until you have driven a W9 Studio with about a 325 wheelbase. Okay. I don't want to hear you talking about it. Okay. I'm with you on fuel mileage. I'm with you on buying the right truck. But until you have driven a 379 that's stretched out and you can feel how that sumbitch handles, I just know.
There's a lot of things in life that I wish I could do.
I need my
that
new
ain't
employee.
even that isn't even in the top 100.
I
okay?
need my new employee to go get me another beer.
That's politically incorrect right now. Okay.
Now, okay. Now here's this is a good point, Zot. This is a good point. The guy asking about the super singles might go buy the cheapest ones he can find, and that would be a mistake.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You're giving up already more fuel mileage than you're ever. It doesn't matter.
No. But this is an important point. This is an important point. Forget the square hood. All tires are unlike. I love Larry says this in every orientation. Unlike humans, every tire is not the same.
Created equal.
They're not created equal. Yes. Humans are created equal. Tires are not created equal. So just because it's a super single doesn't mean anything.
That's true.
You could get a shitty super single that could be worse than your shitty duals.
And by the way, the brand has nothing to do with it because Michelin makes the best super single and the shittiest
and the worst
single.
Yeah.
So it's not brand related. Okay. You have to understand how they're built, and you have to look at the rolling resistance number of that model tire. So, but that is true. If you're going to buy some, at least spend the money and get ones that are going to at least give you not only the fuel mileage, but the longevity. I mean, look, my singles, I would get 475,000 miles out of a set of singles because I took care of my tires. Now, you're not going to get that in every brand. So,
which goes to this comment from McClay. In my experience, super singles blow more often. That's anecdotal. So he's admitting this is anecdotal information. It's not anecdotal that when they blow, it's an expensive and timely ordeal to get rolling again.
You're setting me up, aren't you? You're setting me up.
But listen, you've trained me well. So
are you going to take it? Are you going to take it?
I'm going to take this.
Don't fuck it up.
So if you go to our TikTok channel, I did a video yesterday, I think, because I mentioned that we were going to take a 13-speed out of a truck and put a 10-speed direct drive in that truck with 264s. Oh, how dare you? How you Neanderthal? How dare you take a 13-speed out and put a 10-speed direct drive in? You must not be able to do math. And I said, well, let me do some math for you here, Hoss.
I can't believe he asked you that. The creator of the BSE 9000
right.
CP.
So I went to our fuel gauges, okay, and I added up all of the miles that we have tracked since Larry started using fuel gauges, which I would assume is 2010 probably.
No.
2009?
2009. Yeah.
2009.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
We have tracked 4.5 million miles.
Does that include JPEG?
Yes.
Metro? Okay.
We have tracked 4.5 million miles of fuel ups in all of the different trucks that we have put into. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for your service.
Greg, could you do one more?
Yeah, I just spilled some of that in my lap.
Tell Anna it's for Larry. Okay. Sure. Do you want something, by the way? No.
Okay. So we've tracked 4.5 million miles of fuel ups. One of those trucks has been tracked 1.5 million miles, and that truck has had super singles on it pretty much its entire life.
Pretty much.
So in this 4.5 million miles, we've had how many super singles blow out? I think the number's 5.
5 I can think of.
I think it's 5.
And one of them was a fluke,
Yeah, we're very confident that it's 5, but 4 we can really count on in 4.5 million miles. And listen, by the way, I know it's going to break y'all's heart, but it's 100% illegal to limp duals in. Okay, that's 100% illegal.
That's one of the biggest fines you'll ever get.
If the road pirate catches you limping in with duals, you're done. Especially if you got hot hazmat. God help you if you got hazmat. Okay, so that's null and void. In 4.5 million miles, we could have paid for, I'm going to say 1,000, but probably 100. We could have paid for 100 service calls, lost time, lost revenue with the amount of fuel that has been saved by running super singles. Okay. Yes. Is it inconvenient? Certainly it is. Since I've been here, which is March of 2018, we have had, I want to say three of the super single failures that we have had have happened since I've been here, and not one time did we lose a wheel.
We lost a wheel one of those 5 instances.
One of those 5, we did lose a wheel. None of the 3, which asterisk, we think that the reason that we lost 2 of those was because of the wheel and we replaced the wheel. But the wheel was not damaged when the super single blew. Okay. And I'm going to put another little asterisk on this. I'm telling you that as an old school trucker, 25-year trucker, you could not give me a truck with godforsaken duals on it. Okay. You gift me. Hey, buddy, here you go. Here's the keys. Thank you for your service. No charge. The first thing I'm going to do is take the duals off and put super singles on, because I hate duals with a passion, as how much I hate duals. So
Now, can I add some stuff to that?
please go ahead.
We need to figure out what the fuel savings were on those 4 some odd million miles, because the numbers are this. Okay, 1 mile per
The
gallon.
BSC 9000.
1 mile per gallon is over $20,000 a year. Okay. Now we know that in every case we at least improve fuel mileage by 1 mile per gallon. In many cases, much more.
Okay, I've got the BSC 9000.
All right.
Okay, so 4.5 million miles. Oops, that's 450 million. 4.5 million miles. So let's say by 6 mile per gallon. You happy with that? Is 750,000 gallons. 750 times what's an average? You want to just say 350 a gallon?
Say 350. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's 2,262,500. Okay, now we're going to go the same 4.5 million miles divided by 7. So we'll go 1 mile per gallon difference. That's 642,857 times the same 350 is 2,249,999999999. Okay. So minus
I'd
the
round that. I'd round that up 1 digit.
622. I ain't gonna round up shit. Okay. Is a savings of $372,000 based on 1 mile per gallon at $3.50 a gallon. $372,000 saved over 4.5 million miles.
And we've had 5 blowouts, which
And
cost,
we've had 5
on
blowouts.
average. Let's say the service call was $500. It wasn't, but let's say that, because that would probably, well, let's say the service call was $500. Let's say the wheel, if it went out every time, was another $400 or $500, and the tire was average probably $1,200-$1,400. So do 5 of those at $1,400, $500, and $500. 2,400 times 5. What is that?
Wait a minute. You said 2,400?
2,400 times. We're going to go worst case scenario. We lost the wheel. We lost the tire.
$12,000
We lost the brake chamber. Okay.
minus 372,000 is a net gain of 360,000. Now, McClay says, I had to wait all night on Love's to get there and fix the tire. I was late at Walmart and rescheduled for the next day. Brother, I feel your pain. Okay. Let me tell you just real quick. Give me 3 minutes to tell you about an experience I had with the Loves, because I had not 1, but 2 super singles that needed to be replaced. And I called this ignorant amoeba, this single-celled organism, at a Loves, I want to say Jackson, Georgia. And I explained to him that I had a truck that desperately needed 2 super singles. Okay. Well, he didn't have 2 Michelins. He had a Michelin and he had a Goodyear. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you LCAP authorization numbers from Landstar. You're going to bring me a Goodyear. You're going to bring me a Michelin, and we're going to go do this deal. Okay, no problem. All right. Well, first this moron calls me and he says, well, man, I only got 1 set of jack stands. And I said, okay, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to jack up 1 axle, and I want you to put the tires on. I want you to set it down, and I want you to put the second axle on jack stands, and I want you to switch the tires, because your highest tire has to go on the right side. Your most tread depth has to go on the right side to protect the differential. Power divider and differential. So, of course, this amoeba, this single-celled organism that couldn't rub 2 pennies together and couldn't find his both hands couldn't find his butt with both hands in the dark.
Bring him another one.
Shows up without, he doesn't bring the balancing beads that we asked him to bring. He did. And of course, he's just, oh man, somebody took it off the truck and it's not my fault. Well, by the time Larry got done with Love's customer service, we got that all fixed. Listen, I empathize with the stupidity that you have to deal with when you're dealing with roadside service. It sucks. It's hard. Yes, it cost me a day. Okay. Well, in our world at that time, a day was $2,000. Okay. You cost me a day, you're costing me $2,000. Right now, you're costing me about $1,300. But then you were costing me $2,000 a day. You were costing me the cost of the tire, the cost of the road service, and of course the anguish, pain, and suffering of dealing with these dipshit idiots. Okay. But y'all, oops. The BSC 9000 never lies. Okay.
Well,
I can save $360,000 over 4.5 million miles. That's a significant amount of money, enough for me to deal with some temporary bullshit.
yeah,
Okay.
here's the underlying thing here. You're making a rash decision based on an exception. Yeah, you
Right.
had one bad deal, or you had a run of bad deals. But the numbers don't lie. Okay, when you're looking at the law of average, you also have to look at the law of large numbers. You've got a very small sample size there. You're making an opinion, a decision about a very small sample size. All right. We have a very large sample size because we've got 4.5 million miles worth of data to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, do you want to make decisions based on exceptions, or you want to make decisions based on what typically happens?
Right.
In your case, yeah, you've got a bad example. Now, let me give you some advice here. People think that we're I don't know, whatever, bootlickers or whatever, because we like Michelin. Okay.
Mhm.
Here's why I buy Michelin. Okay. Because if I can't find a tire, a Michelin Super Single where I'm at, I can call Michelin and they'll bring me one from wherever it is
Mm-hmm.
with no service charge
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a Michelin B2B member. Okay. So your problem wouldn't have existed in my situation because I would have called Michelin and they would have found the tire and brought it to me. It happened. The one in Texas, by the way, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
not the one but the one in Texas, they brought the tire from like 150 miles away
Mm-hmm.
because the guy there didn't have one. So anyway, it all comes down to making decisions, not based on these little incidents that, yeah, we always remember the things that went bad. Yeah, you missed your appointment, blah, 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 blah. That's one day in the life of your whole career. So we're going to throw away $370,000 over 4.5 million miles because we had one bad. This is why we say in business, you make decisions based on numbers, not on emotion.
And can I remind everyone that you can't just replace one dual? You can't do it.
Oh, they can. They just don't
I
understand
know
why
they,
the other
I
one went
know,
flat.
I know they will. Okay. But you can't just replace a single dual tire.
Well,
Well, man, this dual tire's only $400. That damn super single's $1,200.
And you may
Okay.
have to replace 4 of them, depending on how wore they are.
Right.
But that's another whole night.
But it's an important nugget that has to be brought into this conversation.
True.
That if you run over something, okay, not of your own doing, you run over something and you pierce a dual into a situation where it cannot be repaired, guess what you're going to have to do, or what you should do, is you replace 2 duals, not one, because if you have one tall and one short, you're going to wear out that short one even faster. So the perceived money savings by running duals is not there, because when you lose one, okay, well, if I lose one and it's 15%, is it 15 or 20? I can't remember. But anyway, if it's 15 or 20% difference in the
15%. 15.
15%.
No, it's not percent. It's measured in millimeters or measured in tire depth, 30 seconds.
I know, but it's still 15%,
Yeah.
the difference between the two.
Okay.
You have to replace both of them. So you're buying 2 tires anyway. Okay. Then if you're not using something like a Crossfire that will keep those 2 tires at an equal pressure, because truck drivers will not check the inside tire. Okay. I'm just 25 years in this business, and somebody on TikTok asked, do the super singles ride better? I can't tell the difference. Okay. But when it comes to the operation of a truck, 25 years of trucking. Now I've been here at Blue Ribbon 5 years and being on the management side. You cannot gift me a set of duals. Okay. Now, Philip Bauer, this is a great question. Super singles on tractor only can get a full 1 mile per gallon improvement. Well,
It depends on
no.
what was on there before.
Well, it depends on what was on there before. Okay. But what we have clearly demonstrated here at Blue Ribbon, and we have the data and the numbers to back it up, okay, is that the driver is at minimum 35% of your fuel mileage number, okay? So if we here at Blue Ribbon doing what we do, building these lunatic trucks, speccing them in a very specific and certain way, and they're averaging, 6 or 7 or whatever the number is. I promise you that if we did not go to the trouble to put the best tires, to put the fleet air filter, to put the oil, to put the OPS, because drivers are not pre-programmed to think business. Drivers are pre-programmed to think what's best for the driver. What's going to make me feel good? What's going to make me happy? Well, that's mashing the damn pedal to the floor and hearing the sound of the turbo spool up. Okay. If we didn't spend the money that we do to see a 1 mile per gallon improvement, our trucks would be getting 4.5 right now. Okay. Because you can watch the progression of the driver that comes here on day one and their fuel mileage sucks. And then over time, as we have educated them, their fuel mileage will improve. But even if it was just 1 mile per gallon, we have demonstrated mathematically over time that 1 mile per gallon over 4.5 million miles is a $300,000 plus change in your situation.
And sometimes it's more than a 1 mile per gallon change. It depends on how bad the tires are. And again, you can't just say super singles. You have to look at a super single that has a low rolling resistance.
Mm-hmm.
All super singles are not created equal, believe me. So it's not just, you can't lump it together and say, well, I'm going to put super singles on and improve my fuel mileage. You may hurt your fuel mileage. You may have better rolling resistance duals than the singles you bought. So it's not that way. And by the way, you're not going to ask a tire salesman about rolling resistance. His eyes are going to glaze over. What the fuck are you talking about?
You should have.
Now they will tell you that they're smart way and they're this, that, and this, that, and the other, which means nothing. Okay. So you have to do the research. Only 2 people I know of do rolling resistance testing. That's Michelin and Yokohama. So you're going to have to go there and you're going to have to find their tire and your tire and you're going to have to compare them. You're going to do a little work. You have to do the work because the industry will not do it for you. Okay. Now there's something else.
I wish I'd have had a video camera running at the truck show when we went into the double coin booth and Larry started asking them about low rolling resistance or just asking them about their rolling resistance numbers. And the guy was like, what?
What's that?
What are you talking about? I don't know. Hey, give me your email and I'll look at it. Have you gotten that email yet, by the way?
Of course
yeah,
not.
I didn't think so. Hey, listen, I've got to make an unfortunate announcement for the TikTok people that are watching. My phone's down to about 10% battery life. So you guys are on death row right now. I'm going to let it go until the phone dies. But
can you plug it up? You want to plug
well,
it?
no, because if I plug it up, I lose the audio. And they really like the audio of having better
Well, have them
audio.
come over to YouTube.
Yeah, y'all need to.
Anybody that's got TikTok, surely the hell's got YouTube, right?
Yeah, all y'all on TikTok.
Now, if you live in Montana, you can't get TikTok anymore anyway. But now, how many people live in Montana, Chris? What, 50,
I
75?
believe the number that we looked at today was 733,000.
No, that's correct. That's incorrect. That's Alaska. There were as many people in Montana that were in Franklin County, Ohio, which was about.
I would ask
1.7
Siri, but that would probably make the battery.
Listen, I'm not drunk. I remember your numbers. It was 1.7 million. But in the whole scheme of things, that's like 75 people. Okay.
All right. Now listen.
Now
wait a minute. We have triggered Rocky. Rocky has been officially triggered here by this talk about duals. Duals need to match within 30 seconds. Now wait a minute. What's 2 divided by 32? That's 6%, not 15%.
I told you it was 30 seconds anyway.
Always have to be, and have to be the same model and make of tire, and no more than 15-30 seconds between the front and the rear axle.
That's the
Okay.
number we were thinking of. 12, 30 seconds. What I was thinking. But yeah. Now, what happens if you don't? Well, you run down the road and all of a sudden your power divider just, and you go, well, that sucked. My power divider just went out. When you did it yourself by not maintaining the proper circumference difference between the tires in the front and the rear. So, did y'all know any of this? You know?
Well, guys,
aren't we a
it's
plethora
just-
of information?
It's just math, okay? Everything from the MD alignment to the use of the fleet air filter. I mean, we've asked, hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, we straight up asked Fleet Air Filter if they want to be a sponsor of this podcast. And if they do, I will cash the check. But I'm still going to tell you about them even if they don't, because it makes a difference. Fleet Air Filter, OPS, running the catalyst, using Michelin, using low rolling resistance, wide singles, which Michelin's the best. So there it is. You know, again, Michelin, send me a check. I'll cash it. I'm still going to talk about you. So just go ahead and send the check on, right? Because you're going to get the value out of it.
I've created a monster here.
It's just little bites that make such a huge difference. And again, please remember, who is the intended target audience of this podcast and of this company? It's the first-time owner-operator buying their first truck. Okay. If you're not the first time owner operator buying your first truck and you've got the money to go pay for that big flat top Peterbilt with the glider with the C15 cat cranked up to 9,000 horsepower, brother, more power to you. Have at it. I'm not ever going to tell you no. But when you're the first time owner operator, you don't get to do that stuff. And somebody on TikTok asked, what was your dream truck? Okay. What is my dream truck? Well, it depends on which part of me you're talking to. If you're talking to the part of me that would like to just have whatever I could have, well, we're absolutely talking about a W900 Studio Kenworth C15 Cat, 18 speed, probably a 336 rear end, so it'll run 112, right? But if you're talking to the business part of me, it's going to be a 2005 to 2006 Columbia with a 14-liter Detroit, a direct drive 10-speed and 264s, maybe a 13-speed double overdrive with a 264 that I could run it in 11th gear. The problem is truck drivers aren't going to do that. If you're going to hire truck drivers and put them in truck, you can't give them the 13. Because they're not going to operate it properly. Now, if you are going to be that, like if they say you're Niven, right, smooth operator trucking in here, I would absolutely tell Niven, well, sure, get you a 13 double overdrive with 264 rears. Of course, we all know that Niven ain't damn well going to be. Niven's going to have that sumbitch in high gear, letting it eat, okay? But I'm just saying, if it was me, because the one thing that Larry demonstrated, probably – I'm going to say this is the most important business lesson that Larry ever taught me.
Oh, here we go.
You cannot ever hire yourself.
Okay.
Nobody is ever going to do as good a job in your equipment as you do, right? If you ever find that person, you better get that sumbitch in an ironclad contract, okay?
And no, he's not available. I've already nailed that down. Okay, so
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Somebody now. I want to go back and talk about another thing. Gas says only get 1 pound per gallon put in. Here's a fact that most people don't understand. The difference between a low rolling resistance tire and not, the effectiveness changes from the trailer to the drive tire to the steer in that order. Believe it or not, if you own your own trailer, the most benefit you get is by changing the trailer tires.
Yep.
That's the thing that's impacted the most by improving the rolling resistance of the tires. Then the drive tires and the steers last. So I know that probably comes as a surprise to some people, but hey, you tune in here to learn. We're teaching you how to learn. So
Well, especially if you think about how over the last 3 years, we've heard trust the experts. Okay. I promise you that Rocky Rockefeller and Mike Beckett and his son,
Kevin,
Kevin Beckett, have forgotten more about tires and alignment than I can probably ever hope to learn. I've learned a ton from them, and I'm probably 75, 80% there. But just like this, think about this, okay? 4 PSI difference between tires mounted in the same position also creates tall, short tire wear and will scrub off the short tire not traveling the same distance per revolution. Think about that. 4 PSI. Who the hell gives a damn about 4 PSI? Rocky. Because Rocky understands that a $400 to $600 tire could be worn out at a rate of probably 30% faster if you don't keep the air pressure perfectly equalized between the two. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not in the business of throwing $400 to $600 away just because, for whatever stupid reason that I decide to not be passionate about my tires or passionate about my fuel mileage. Because the reason we stay in business is we're super passionate about those details. And I was telling the guys in our class today, I worked for a guy named Cooksey Sugart in 2000. He had 65 trucks, or he was the fleet manager for a 65 truck fleet leased to US Express that was getting 85 cents a mile loaded and empty. And this whole truck drivers can't make a living, that ain't new, y'all. I've heard that shit since I got in this industry in 1997. And I asked him one day, I said, Cooksey, how do you do it? His answer was profound. Son, every sentence started with son. If somebody starts a sentence with the word son, you better pay attention because you're fixing to get some knowledge. Son, there's pennies laying all over the place. You just got to reach down and pick them up. Profound advice for a 24-year-old that didn't know jack shit, who was also the same guy that looked at me one day and said, hey, son, let me explain to you why you're such an idiot. I'm like, how dare you? And then he went on to explain to me why I was such an idiot. And I was like, holy crap, I'm an idiot. And I didn't even know I was an idiot. Oh my gosh. Life-changing advice. Y'all, it's all about the details. Little details will be the determining factor whether or not your business survives or dies in this market today. That's what we're trying to get y'all to understand.
Bravo Zulu. Yes, I have Angel's Envy bourbon. I have the cask strength. I also have the rum finish. I also have the port finish. So yes, I am. It's a Louisville distillery company that makes Angel Envy. But yes, it's excellent bourbon.
If y'all want to know the key to Larry's heart, that's show up with a bottle of bourbon. Especially that Jefferson's Ocean.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean,
he likes that stuff too.
There's a new Jefferson's Ocean I found though that it's a little more expensive. $300 a bottle.
Y'all need to just sit around sometime and have a talk with Rocky. A 3-axle truck with a right pull and tow out 1/8 of an inch will lose around 35% of steer tire life. So when you're sitting on Rocky's very, very expensive outdoor kitchen, this is the kind of knowledge that he will.
I think Rocky should have a seminar in the outdoor kitchen down there, and we could all go down there and learn more about alignments and tire thing. Hey, Rocky, I've got a serious question for you. This leads up to some of our announcement tonight, but Are you interested in coming back this year to the event, August 19th?
Oh, yeah.
Be thinking about that and give me an answer, okay?
Well, let's just
So-
listen. I've got a graphic. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it right now. August 19th and 20th, Hurricane, West Virginia. The event is now live at blueribbonlogistics.com/events. The Reset Your Mindset 2023 event has been posted on the page or on the website. So if you would like to join the lunatics for 2 days of intense and enlightening training and networking as we prepare you to survive and thrive through which this was a copy and paste from last year. The coming bloodbath. I think we all understand the bloodbath is here.
Yeah, it's kind of here, okay?
It's 100%.
We were
here.
trying to warn you last year about
Yeah.
it, but nobody listened. Now you're in the middle of it. So maybe you'll listen this year, okay?
So the event will be here in West Virginia, August 19th and 20th. We have some special guests that we've been talking about, and we'll make those announcements forthcoming.
It's going to be a different format than it has in the past because I'm tired of doing all the work.
Right.
So we're going to have special guests come in, and we're going to divide it up into different topics and that sort of thing. And listen, we have a great facility. The facility is phenomenal. Okay, there's pictures of it on the website. The hotel here is phenomenal. They treat us like kings here. So we're going to have a couple of social events. Friday night, we're going to have a reception here. We'll be doing the podcast live from the reception. And then the event will take place all day Saturday. We're going to come back here Saturday night for a little social event at the hotel Saturday night. And then, of course, we'll wind up Sunday about 5 o'clock or so. We have truck parking here at the hotel. So you just let us know if you're coming in a truck so we can make sure we got room for you. It is now live on our website, so you can go there and you can register. There is an early bird discount of $100. Okay,
Yep.
If you get registered and get in there. Last year we sold out, so the first come first serve. So anyway, it's going to be it's going to be there. Listen, guys, we can give you enough information in the first 4 hours to more than pay for the cost of the
100%.
event. And we're
So Luke, if you go to blueribbonlogistics.com/events or blueribbonlogistics.com/reset 2023.
Yeah.
That's where the event page is. You can register. We've invited a bunch of people. We've invited Larry Cothran. We've invited Anik Lesage. We've invited Rocky. We've invited Chris Dolan to come down because what we would like to have, last year we had Carl doing inspections and Rocky was doing alignments in the parking lot. We would like to do that again. We just haven't got all the details confirmed.
Right.
But we are going to have, you come in Friday. The plan would be the best possible outcome is that you could come in maybe on Wednesday and Thursday, get some work done on your truck. Friday night we have the reception here at the hotel with the live podcast. Then Saturday and Sunday we have the event. We have different speakers coming in. Larry's got some surprises there. But we want you to have a weekend of networking where you get inspired and empowered. Because one of the things that I see when I look around the industry right now is a bunch of people that feel powerless. And I empathize with your position. Where we diverge and where we part company is with your desire to involve the state. The people that have created most of the problems that we face, you're going to allow the state to come in and supposedly fix your problem while completely ignoring all of the consequences that are going to come with your involving the state in the market. So when I say that I'm against broker transparency, I'm against regulation, all regulation. I'm against regulating trucks. I'm against regulating brokers. I'm against regulating shippers because what I'm for.
He's against regulating whores.
That too. I am for the market. And you know who the market is? The market's us.
Yeah.
The market is us, and we're going to go out and we're going to voluntarily, and we're going to consensually make agreements with people. And if somebody offers you a load you don't like, guess what? You don't have to take it.
Right. Exactly.
It happened today. It literally happened today. I booked a load, I don't know, for $1,350. It was a little short hop. She called me back. She's like, look, this guy's lost his mind. He wants to move this lane for $950. And I said, well, bless his heart. That's literally the words that came out of my mouth. I said, well, bless his heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it.
But
he can certainly go find somebody else to do it, but I sure as hell am not going to do it. So I just moved on and found something else to do.
We didn't condemn the agent or the broker because of that. We just moved on.
Wasn't her fault.
Just say no. I can't get over these drivers that say that they're abused by brokers. That would happen one time with me, and you would never abuse me again because you never have the opportunity. So if you're abused and you go back for it, guess what? That's on you. You got battered wife syndrome, okay? So just say no. That's ridiculous, okay? But I'm not going to ask the government to come in and regulate lease purchases so I don't have to sign a
35-page document I refuse to read.
Yeah, exactly. Or regulate a broker from making whatever it is that they can make in the free market because I don't like him. That's what we're against, okay? That's what we're against. So anyway, back to the event. I do have a private selection bourbon here that's always here. But that weekend I'm going to bring, because I'm doing an addition to my house. And so my bourbon bar is basically packed up right now. So I'm going to bring it here. We're going to have my private bourbon collection here that weekend.
Oh, my goodness.
So for you bourbon snobs, we can talk bourbon. And Rocky, I saw your Jefferson Ocean a while ago. What did you say, Voyage 28? I think it's what you said.
It all tastes like turpentine to me. So
it's because he's a redneck hillbilly and he drinks. Show him what you're drinking up there.
This is Kentucky brewed.
That's not even blue. A while ago it was some kind of.
Well, I started out with a blue, but I figured out pretty quick that if I had one more of those, I'd be laying on the floor here asleep. So I decided to switch to Shotgun Wedding, which is a Kentucky brewed.
You know how you can't hire,
ale.
You know how you can't hire yourself. You also can't find anybody to drink like yourself. Okay, so amateurs up here. Okay, so strict amateur.
Guilty. Guilty.
What else we got? What else we got going on? We've been 2 hours?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours.
I'm getting hungry.
I'm getting drunk.
Well, that makes you hungry. So, I did find out there's a Waffle House in West Virginia.
He did.
And it's open 24 hours. And we may end up there again tonight. But I'm a big Waffle House fan, by the way. It's a very keto place if you stay out of the hash browns.
I'm going to hit this right quick from McClay. I decided I'm getting an end dump. Y'all can have RTR. Listen, brother.
Bless your heart.
I'm with you. Whatever niche that you can find. There was a question on the TikTok live last night. I'm trying to think of the phrasing. But our answer was, it was about a day cab. Something about a day cab. If you can get it paid for, where you don't have the risk of a bunch of debt, brother, more power to you.
Yeah.
That's the key. Now, what happens is most people get suckered in to these lease purchases from a carrier, or they get suckered into a lease purchase from some outside company. And then you do some math. And you're like, well, sure, I can afford a $700 a week truck payment. Until you can't. Well, all I'm asking you to do is think logically through that process until, okay, if I get to until I can't, what happens then? Because no amount of mouth breathing, breath holding, blue in your face, stomping your feet in front of Congress is going to save you from what's fixing to happen to you if you are over leveraged and undercapitalized in business. And honey, it don't matter if it's trucking. It don't matter if it's a Chick-fil-A. It don't matter if it's a McDonald's franchise. It don't matter if you're a contractor or a plumber or electrician or whatever. If you are undercapitalized and you are over leveraged, whenever the shit hits the fan, you're the first one to go.
5 years ago, he didn't know what those words mean. Now he's throwing them out there at you. So, hey, we got some unfinished business. Okay. Number one, we have another special announcement. Let me clear my throat. So I don't have a mute button because I'm tied into your soundboards. I can't mute myself. So, all right. So we got a new sponsor coming on. Okay. You want to talk about it, Chris? You want me to talk about it?
Have at it.
ProMiles. ProMiles, it's an app that will help you with fuel mileage optimization, help you with navigation. There's a lot of components to it. We're going to learn more about it as we go. They're going to be participating in one of our podcasts and explain their product to you. I heard about the product way back when I was back in the CMC. Because I think they had a relationship with Kevin Rutherford even way back then. We simply don't really have it needed because of the Landstar One app. But if you're not a Landstar BCO and you're independent, then you probably can use this product to help you find those fuel prices. If you don't understand the need to be able to separate the IFTA tax from the fuel price, then you really need to go back and look at some of our episodes on IFTA, and they have a product that will do that for you. So we're going to have a lot more to talk about it, but they're coming on officially, I think, next weekend, and they'll be with us for a few weeks. So anyway, we're excited about having the new sponsor, ProMiles. And the other thing I need to bring up is that you guys need to keep Carl in your thoughts and in your prayers.
The GoFundMe is up in the corner.
That top left QR code, that's Carl's GoFundMe. Chris, you may have an update. I don't know, but
I do have an update I can share with you. So they are bringing Carl back home to the southeastern Ohio area and bringing him to a place for some rehabilitation because I guess they're trying to get him weaned off of the ventilator. I don't understand this stuff, but his lungs are in such bad shape that he can't really breathe on his own except for short periods of time. But for whatever reason, they can't do the transplant. So they've got to bring him back home for some rehabilitation to maybe get him in position to have a surgery that will get him in a position to be able to breathe on his own so that he can get in a position to have a double lung transplant. Way above my pay grade. But the bottom line is he has not been able to work for months. His wife is their single source of income, and they've got, I can't even begin to imagine, astronomical medical bills. So, if you can find it in your heart to scan that QR code and throw a few dollars their way, it will help them, I'm sure, more than you can imagine.
Especially if Carl has helped you out in the past, with your truck and whatnot, and saved you the trouble of being broken down the side of the road because of his ability to be able to find things that no one else can.
Right.
So think about that right now. He needs your help, and we would appreciate if you would consider doing that. And we thank you very much on his behalf. So we're here for the weekend. We've got two great guys. Can we listen? The quality of our applicants has just gone through the roof. We're so full. We had a couple of guys today that have been here now for a few weeks, and they're moving. They're our first group of people that have moved from phase 2 to phase 3. We didn't even have a slideshow prepared because it's the first time we've had to do it. We're winging it all day. Okay, I was doing slideshows I hadn't done since last year at the live event, so I had to knock the dust off of them. So I apologize to those guys for that. But we've got the best bunch of people right now we've ever had. We got a great crew, great attitudes. They really want to understand how to be profitable and understand this business. And we're very, very fortunate. Chris, this is Chris's baby. Okay. He drugged me screaming and and whatnot to get in this podcast thing. And I can't say that I don't enjoy it.
You're welcome.
But the reason I do this is because it brings us people like this fellow sitting right here that's going to be here tomorrow in our orientation. We get people who are somehow or another attracted to what we do because of these podcasts and because of our TikTok and because of all the shit that we stir up all the time. It attracts some people's interest, and in an industry where everybody needs drivers, we kind of have a waiting list. We're blessed with the fact that we don't have to go out here. We're the only fleet I know of at Landstar that isn't constantly on all the groups begging people to come get in their trucks. I turn away people every week who want to drive for us that are Landstar BCOs because I don't want them. Okay, we will not allow them to come here because we don't want truck drivers. We want people to understand that what they're doing here is they're opening a business. They're opening up a brick and mortar business that happens to have 18 wheels, and that this is a serious decision to get into business. And if you don't have business skills, you will not make it, because 95% of people who do this for the first time end up in failure. And failure in this business can be very devastating to your financial life, your home life. It has serious repercussions, and we're just giving people an alternative way of doing it. A lot of people don't agree with what we do, and that's fine. I mean, we tell everybody we spend more time in an interview telling people not to do this than we do to do it, and but the ones who proceed to convince us that they want to give it a shot, we're 100% behind them. And we will do everything in our power to make them be successful or help them be successful. We can't make them, but we can certainly show them how. So these weekends, as much as I dread coming to West Virginia and staying up here for 3 or 4 days, I really, really enjoy it because it gives us a chance to start on this path with new people and show them the way of the lunatics and watch the excitement in their face. And then just like today, the guys that were here today, they have conquered the first 12 weeks. And that's what gets most people, because they got to deal with that guy for 12 weeks and his big foot, So if they get through the first 12 weeks, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they're probably going to make it. And so it's very exciting today to have Travis and Michael here. Great guys. They're going to be great owner-operators. It's just a matter of time for them to pick up all the things that they need to do. So congratulations, Travis and Michael, for the accomplishment of making it this far. We look forward to Greg and Alexander tomorrow joining the family. And little recruiting message here: we do still have 2 trucks that we'll have available in the next 30 days. The process of getting on here and with Landstar is about a 3, 4, 5, 6 week process. So by the time you get qualified, the gauntlet, by the time you get qualified, we'll have the trucks ready to go. So we have 2 openings right now, assuming we have more people wanting to give us trucks right now than we really need. But if assume we don't bring on any more trucks between now and then. Oh, by the way, Joshua got a couple of settlements today that I'm sure he's happy about. So Josh is one of our new truck owners, has 2 trucks in the fleet, and I see that he's watching. So I don't know if you're on the slope, Joshua, or if you're home, but anyway, congratulations on a couple of nice weeks here. So anyway, reach out to us. Drive for us. Chris, can you put up the little thing? Drive for us, whatever it is.
Sure can.
Understand what we do here, okay? Now, the number one thing I have to tell you is that we accountability is a major part of this, okay? We don't suffer fools here. And if you're not willing to accept the responsibility for the decisions you make, don't waste our time or yours. You're not going to like it. If you're looking for a job, we're a horrible job. You're going to hate working here as a job. But if you're looking for the education, if you're here for the education, and you're okay with making pretty good money while you're learning, this is a great opportunity to learn business. I've been in business since 1977. Okay, I try to tell you everything I know in the next 18 months that I've learned in 50 years of business. Chris has been driving a truck for 25 years. a lot of those years as owner and operator. He's gone through some ups and downs. So he can, he passionately can share with you the pains of failure. And that's what we're trying to avoid for you, is not to have you make the same mistakes that we have made. So we welcome you. We welcome you to check out what we do. Some of our social media, we kind of stir things up, but that's for effect. We get more attention with
It's so much fun, though.
and it's comic relief for us for a way. But and when I say we don't hire truck drivers, I understand. So I'm stereotyping that truck driver stereotype. And that's what we're trying not to. We're not try. We're not going to develop that, because we teach people that it's not about you. It's about serving the customer. And as long as you serve a customer, you'll never have to worry about where your next dollar is coming from.
100%.
The people that have to worry about that are people that only serve themselves. And we show that there's a different way of doing it. You don't have to be the truck driver that's slow rolling around Indianapolis, okay, and protesting in Washington, D.C., and wanting brokers to give up half their income because you can't run your business worth of crap. That's not what we teach here, okay? So anyway, that's my recruiting message. We've been a long time. It's we appreciate you guys. We have the same kind of people every Friday night. We appreciate you. We get a lot of people.
I mean, I could go 3 hours on the podcast if I had a catheter, but at just about this 2 hour and 10 minute mark, I start struggling.
Or if we could get bourbon in an IV, I could probably do it. But yeah. Well, listen, guys, thanks. Listen, look at the event, August 19th and 20th. It's a Saturday and Sunday. Come to West Virginia. Look, you can get a load out here, and you can spend the weekend with us. If you need some work done to your truck, Rocky's already said he's going to try to work it out to be here. So that's a big plus when you come here and get an MD alignment right here and all the things that go with it, and all Rocky's knowledge. Rocky, you don't know this yet, but we're going to have you also not just be greasy. We're going to have you teach some inside in the classroom this year. So, we got a lot of things that in store for you that are going to be different than what we've done in the past few years at this particular event. So we expect it to be a big crowd. Jump on it now. We will sell out, I'm sure. So get in here and get your seat early. There is a discount for the second person from the same family or the second person from the same truck. If you're a team, there is a discount. There are also a $100 discount if you jump on this and get the early bird special.
And that way we have a discount on the hotel room.
We do. We have a special rate with the hotel room, and it's even discount. There's an early bird rate on the hotel room of $99. After the early bird discount, it goes to $109.
And listen, I know y'all are thinking, this is West Virginia. How good can this hotel be? Y'all, I'm telling you.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Awesome.
They treat us so well here. They listen. Well, I can't say too much about that. They provide a lot of what we get in terms of facility for this event. They sponsor it. And of course, all they get out of this is just the rooms, So, we would like for you, obviously, for you to come. I mean, if money's an issue and you have to sleep in your truck, that's fine. You can park outside. But if you,
we have truck parking.
We have truck parking. But if you can come and stay in a hotel and give them a little of your business, we appreciate that, because they are underwriting a lot of the costs, the expense of putting this on. And we really, really appreciate the Wyndham people, Michael, Moses, Christy. We really appreciate you guys supporting us this way. So, all right. If we don't have any more questions, Christy, anything else you see that we didn't answer? Or?
I don't believe so. I mean, other than Leon keeps, bless his heart, he keeps commenting about how we need to hire people from Washington. Brother, you can move. There's 47 other states where you live in.
Leon, we could bring you the program as long as you never want to see your family.
If you don't want to go
If that's not an issue for you, come
on in, brother.
Or I will present this to you. If you want to park your truck in Kansas City or Indianapolis or here and fly home, you're more than welcome to come here. We just do not want to mislead you and make you think you're going to come here and be happy by never seeing your family. Because you cannot take the truck to Washington, D.C. or Washington State, because there's no freight. And there's certainly not a freight back. And we're just not going to Not going to do that. So, and we love you. We'd love you to be in the program, but you're going to have to do something about where you live. So, or you're going to have to commute. Now, look, commute's not the end of the world. Okay, I commuted when I did the FedEx thing in Indianapolis for 4.5 years. I commuted from Lexington. I drove my personal vehicle every week up to Indianapolis and started my clock up there. Now,
which is a miracle in itself. I rode in that pickup truck, and that's a miracle in itself that for 4.5 years he made it back and forth.
See what I put up
Let's
with.
wait.
You see what I deal with.
Y'all,
here?
listen, y'all.
Y'all need. I need a GoFundMe page for putting up with his ass. Okay.
Listen,
Can you give me a QR code up there?
Y'all gotta love this.
I need a QR code for bourbon. Y'all send me bourbon.
Y'all remember? Okay, think about this. It's 2018. It's January. I have made this post on Facebook that I didn't think was going to go anywhere, and he sees it. We have a phone conversation, and I just remember from that phone conversation, this is a businessman. This is not one of these fly by night. Hey, I've got an extra truck. Why don't you come drive it? I knew there was something different and special about him. So we met in Moorhead, introduced the wife, got on board. I go to Indianapolis. My cousin drives me up there, drops me off. I get in this 2002. 2001.
With 275,000 miles on it.
It's 2001 Silverado with 200. The cab corners are just gone. They've left the chat. Okay. And we're driving around. He's like, hey, man, I got to take you to this restaurant. I'm like, okay. So we go to this restaurant. Well, he leaves the damn thing running. Right. Locks the engine is running. We go to Walmart. We go to this restaurant. And
if you understand 2001 Chevrolet, you'll know why I left it running, because it has that security system.
If you shut it off,
it might not start back, and you have to wait 15 minutes to restart. I just let it run. Okay.
So excited for this opportunity to learn from this seasoned businessman. And we're leaving this son of a bitch running everywhere we go, because he's like, well, listen, if I don't leave it running, it may not start again. And I'm like, but how much does it cost really to fix this? And he's like, $1,500. And I'm like, okay, well, let's pay the $1,500 and get the damn thing fixed. And he's like, well, I'm not going to spend $1,500 when I can just leave it running. I'm like, but what if you come out of the restaurant and it's gone? He's like, it's a $5,000 truck that I paid for with winnings from Las Vegas. Who gives a shit? And I'm
exactly right.
And I'm going, okay.
And it's insured, so steal the son of a bitch. I don't care.
Y'all couldn't even dream what the first 3 or 4 days with Larry Long was like. So then, real quick before we end. So now we're walking around. We were in Walmart or a Lowe's or something. I think
we were in Walmart buying supplies for the truck.
We're in Walmart, right? He gives me he hooks me up with a staff account. And of course, he's just told me that his dedicated run has just fallen apart. And listen, man.
My FedEx dedicated. I put this together so he would have steady income. I worked my ass off, pulled all of my strings.
100%. As much as I hate dedicated freight, I'm like, this is doubling my income. This is going to keep me from getting foreclosed on. I will shut my mouth.
I don't have to dispatch the son of a bitch. That's really what
I will shut my mouth and do whatever you tell me if you'll just keep me from getting
If only you would do that now.
Well, I hate that for you. And he says,
that horse is out of the barn, isn't it?
He says, listen, man, I'm sorry this thing's falling apart. I'm gonna have to let you run the board. I'm like, you bet your sweet ass, old man. Watch this. So by the time we leave Walmart,
okay.
By the time we leave Walmart, I've got like 4 loads booked. I actually booked too many, and I think it was that old girl from Northern Kentucky that we talked about.
Yeah. I can't say her name, but I know who you're talking about.
But I had booked a load with her, and then I went, okay, maybe I've overbooked myself. And I called her back, and I'm like, yeah, So I got a little carried away. I'm not going to be able to do this load. She was mad at me, but she spent the last 5 years being mad at me. So anyway, but I had like $9,000 worth of freight booked in 20 minutes. And he was like, well, okay.
Guys, he wore me out going to the bank.
He
made at 25%. He made $90,000 in 8 months.
$90,000.
And he never made that much as a BCO ever.
No, I didn't. My best years of BCO was 75.7.
That truck, he wore that truck out, me driving to the bank for forth, making deposit every day. You know, I still have that truck, by the way. sitting in
But
my
you
backyard.
just got to understand the impression. Which even at the time, I got to admit, I kind of respected. I'm like, well, damn, he's got a 2001 Chevrolet that we're going to leave running in the Walmart parking lot because he's done the math and decided that fuck it, $1,500 to fix it ain't worth it if somebody steals the damn thing. I'm like, hell, I can respect it.
It's just a fucking pickup truck,
that he paid for with winnings from blackjack, right?
That's true.
Okay.
I have to admit that. That's true.
So anyway, okay.
I'm surprised you remember that. Hey, there's a question here I think we need to really answer because this comes up a lot and we don't really address it as much as we should. It's something about being an owner or operator. Do you guys accept current owner operators who are doing okay but want to learn to do way better? Yes and no. First of all, if you're not, if you want us to be able to really, really give you what we do, you have to be at Landstar. That's our network. That's what we do. We create people. We create very successful people in the Landstar system. Now, if you're not at Landstar and you want financial or you want business consulting, I will consider that, but you've got a pretty hard sell in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're at Landstar, a BCO, and you want us to help you, we can do that. Now, there are two ways we can do this. Okay. You say you're an owner op. I'm assuming that you've got your own authority. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But there's two ways we can help you. One is we can mentor you. We can sign a consulting contract and we will work with you on a consulting basis. That's fee-based. Okay. If you want Chris to dispatch you in your at Landstar, that's percentage-based. Now, the other way is you can put your truck on at Landstar through us. You can lease your truck to me and we'll put it on with Landstar and you'll get paid as the truck owner and you'll also get paid as a W-2 employee of Blue Ribbon to drive the truck. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to do this because you're immersed in the program and you're going to get everything that we do for everybody else. Both ways work, but I have to be honest with you. Doing the immersion is going to give you, because you're going to get 100% of our attention. As a mentoring client, you're going to get our attention, but it's going to be a phone call. And it's going to be on our availability. So either one of those works. But if you really, really want to learn this system as an owner or operator, bring your truck. And we can talk about this more. You can reach out to us. What's the website, Chris?
BlueRibbonLogistics.com/conference.
Right. So yes, own authority. So yeah, that's problematic because you can't be at Landstar and have your own authority active. You're going to have to put that in what do we call it? You got to park it for a little bit and bring the truck here. But we can talk about that if you're interested. Where do you live, Mr. Spilly Built? Where do you live?
Well, we'll find that out when he goes to BlueRibbonLogistics.com/conference.
True that.
And fills out the form. Listen, y'all, 2 hours and 21 minutes in. I love y'all, but my eyeballs are floating. I need to go to the bathroom and then back to the bar. We will be live again with you next Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for another fun-filled, fact-filled, entertaining episode of the Blue Ribbon Podcast. I hope that y'all will be safe and be profitable over the next 7 days as we continue. But if I don't go to the bathroom, I'm going to have a very, very serious issue on my hand.
True that.
Adios.
Reach out to us, Spilly
peace
Bill.
out.
Reach out to us. We'll talk to you. Good night, everybody. Be safe. See you next week. Thank you.
See y'all.